Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Speakers for Schools broadcast. We are delighted that you're here joining us today. Today's online talk is part of our Intertech campaign with the HG Foundation, designed to get students thinking about careers in the tech sector. Our goal is to demystify careers in tech, showcase the wide range of roles available, and help you understand how to take your first steps, no matter your starting point. Whether you already are passionate about tech or just exploring the possibilities, this session will give you valuable insights and inspiration for your future career. Keep an eye out for the Intertech branding on our site for more opportunities, online talks, and work experience as part of this exciting tech-focused campaign. So this session will last around 45 minutes, and we'll have an interview with our speaker before moving into a time of Q&A. So questions for our speaker can be submitted via the Q&A function underneath the stream on your screen. You may have to scroll down a little bit on your screen to find that. It's open now, so please do put some questions in. We encourage you to write some in. Our speaker would love to hear from you. Any issues at all during this time, let us know by the same box. We'll do our best to try and support you. Okay, so today I have the pleasure of welcoming Nicola Mendelsohn. So Nicola is one of the most influential figures in the tech and advertising industry, currently serving as head of global business group at Meta. With a career spanning advertising, leadership, and advocacy, Nicola has been instrumental in expanding Meta's presence across Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, growing it into a multi-billion-dollar business. Beyond tech, she's a champion for diversity, a passionate advocate for creative industries, and the founder of the Follicular Lymphoma Foundation. So today she's here to share insights on the world of tech, the skills young people need to thrive in this space, and the exciting opportunities that exist in the sector. So welcome in, Nicola. Hi.
Hi, I'm absolutely thrilled to be here and to be able to have this conversation today on a sunny day.
I know, it's lovely, lovely weather, and it's great to have you. It's really exciting to have you. We have loads of questions for you as well, and I'm sure our young people are really excited to hear from you too. So to kick things off, so we can get to know more about you, please can you tell us about your career journey and your current role?
I'm delighted to do that. But first of all, I want to warm us all up. Is there anybody from Manchester on the line? Manchester, if you are, just put it in the comments. Say, hey, I'm listening in from Manchester today. Why? Because that's where I started. I was born in Manchester. I went to university in Leeds. So if there's anybody from Leeds, pop it in the comments. Tell me where you are watching this from today. Actually might do it in reverse order if I can, and maybe talk a little bit about my current role and how I got to be what I'm doing. Because depending on your age, if you're on Instagram or Facebook, or you're getting updates from your friends, your families, your creators, or whoever you follow, you see advertising. And those ads come from advertisers, they come from advertising agencies across millions and millions of businesses. So can be from the world's biggest businesses like a Coca-Cola or a L'Oreal, or your little local coffee shop or small business around the corner from you. So the organization that I represent, the Global Business Group within Meta, is sales, and we are responsible for overseeing those sorts of relationships all over the world. So I manage a team of about 3,000 people. I'm responsible for a significant part of Meta's revenue. That means billions and billions of pounds. But the question is, how did I get this job, given that when I was your age, a job like this didn't even exist? So it actually goes back to my Manchester and Leeds days. And I studied English and theatre studies. And my very first job as a graduate trainee was in an advertising agency in London called Bartle Bogle Hegarty. And that's where I learned about how to do ads for TV and, posters and print and radio. And so those were made by ad agencies. And then, I was drawn to the wider creative industries as well. So that's how I originally got my job there. And as digital emerged, say 15 or so years ago, the agencies started to embrace more and more tech skills. And obviously the importance of putting digital ads became as important as TV ads. And so that's back in 2013. My then boss came to London and asked me if I would be, if I would consider heading up Europe, Middle East and Africa for Facebook, because we were called Facebook back then. We didn't have Instagram, we didn't have WhatsApp, we didn't have Metaverse and things like that. And so after a long recruitment process, and it was a long recruitment process, had about 20 job interviews, I got the job. And honestly, it's been the most exciting ride. It's described as being like a rocket ship, and it feels like that. And I love tech. I'm a curious person. And so I gave it a go. And I'm, a big fan of Mark Zuckerberg. And so having a privilege to work for him is like a dream come true.
That is awesome. And just out of curiosity, how was it with that 20-stage interview process? How was that?
Well, there was a little funny bit in the middle of it, which was I was actually very late to the process. And so they'd already sent some candidates much further ahead of the process. So I did my first 8 interviews, and then I got told it was too late. And I was like, oh, so gutted. And I remember writing a note to my boss and just said, look, I've really loved the conversations. You and I feel like unfinished business. So who knows, maybe. And then 2 months later, they actually came back to me and said, we made a mistake. Could you come and meet our executive board? And that's where the other 12 were. And it was bang, 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 one after another over sort of a day and a half. And then a couple of weeks later, I got the job.
Wow, that is incredible. And also a good kind of like testament to kind of being resilient and keeping going, and even reaching out when you feel like maybe the door's closed, that can still help.
I think that's something that a lot of people don't think about. They think, oh, I didn't get it, and that's the end of it. And they sort of get angry and they cut off their ties. No, if you like something and if you feel you're right, you go again. Just keep being hungry. And especially for a fledgling company, there were stories of people that got jobs very early at Facebook because they went, actually, I really like the product. How can I help? What do you need me to do? And so our original head of human resources, who basically the person that looks after people, was that person. She came to Sheryl Sandberg and she said to her, I just love what you're doing. And I think you're amazing. What jobs can I do for you? And at the time we had one of our engineers that was doing human resources. And he was like, I'm not very good at this. So could you do this? And she did. And she stayed 15 years at the company. She just left recently.
Wow, that is great. That is a really cool journey. Thank you for sharing that. My second question here for you is, what's the biggest myth about working in the tech industry that you'd like to bust?
The biggest myth, certainly from my side of the house, is actually you don't need to be a techie. You don't need to have a technical background. You don't need to be a coding genius or, software developer, because there are so many, positions from marketing to sales to design to writing. But we just need to make sure that our company has a really diverse set of people and skills and perspectives, because otherwise we won't be thinking about the big issues. We won't be driving innovation. We won't be driving growth. And even back to my story that I just shared with you, I mean, my background is on, English and theatre, and I got into the industry because of its creativity. But over time, I've had to learn and develop my business skills, my business acumen, my problem solving skills, my community. And basically, I've had to learn everything. And I think that's sometimes the thing that we think about when we're at school. I was definitely this person, which is, God, I can't wait till I get to the end of education because I'm never going to have to learn again. Do you know what? It is exactly the opposite of that. The very best people that go on and succeed, and this is the thing I'm telling my 4 kids all the time, is learn, learn, learn. And especially in the world that we're living in, where there's so much change going on. You want to be that person that's always curious, always learning, and always going out and testing the next thing.
Definitely, I agree. And as a fellow creative, I did English and creative writing. So I feel like I'm now learning the other side of things and being more kind of like business minded. So I can definitely relate there.
And I went and did some, math skills. I could see as I was becoming more senior that if I wanted to really progress, I would need to understand, how to run a business. I need to understand profit and loss. So I did a mini MBA at London Business School when I was about 30 something. Because if I didn't, well, I certainly wouldn't be in the position I am today, and I wouldn't have had my own business. I didn't tell you that earlier, which is, so I went from one agency. I basically worked in 3 agencies and basically had my own business. The last one was my own business. And I would never have been able to run a business if I didn't understand cash flows, profit and loss, how to raise money, how to read, spreadsheets, etc. So Anybody there thinking, yeah, shall I do maths? Yes, yes, yes is the answer. You should, because it will come in extreme value.
Yeah, yeah. Maths is like my biggest fear, so
You've got
I
to
feel like
embrace that fear.
you're
Sometimes you get worried about, well, maybe algebra is not your thing, but
mm,
you're going to need to know any business, creative business, any business has to have a basic understanding of math. So you've got to push yourself to think, well, and especially with all the tools now with AI, with calculators, even
yeah,
basic things like that. The people 20, 30, 40 years ago didn't have any of that. So let us take the fear away and embrace
yeah.
profit and loss and spreadsheets. It's important.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand for sure. What is a job at Meta that students might not have heard of but plays a big role in the tech industry?
Oh, that is a great question. Do you know, after all this time being here, 12 years, I'm still discovering jobs that I didn't know we had. But I'll give you one. And I'd be interested in the comments if people knew that we had this job. So give me some feedback as we're going along. Did you know we have a UX researcher? What is that? So that's a user experience. When you have a global platform like Meta, where we reach 3.3 billion people every single day, we need to make sure that we deeply understand the behaviors of all the people, all over the world in order to ensure that they've got a really good experience on our platform. And so we need to make something and continue to innovate and make things that people actually need and want. So the UX researchers at our place and other companies take some of the most complicated challenges. They then sort of drill deeper to get the insights. And to do that role, you really need to come from a range of backgrounds. You're probably from academia, design research, economics, politics, probably more on the political science side, actually, sociology, social computing, psychology. And that's just what I can just think of. So every time we launch a new product at Meta, it's basically based off the work that the researchers did in the background to ensure that we're putting things out into the world that people will take up. They'll do things like conduct user interviews, they'll do surveys, they'll do tests, they'll look for insights. They'll then, here's the maths, analyze the data, they'll identify the patterns, the trends. So there you go. That's probably a job that people might not have known.
Yeah, it sounds like a mix of different things in there, which is really exciting and a good variety to get stuck into. And what is a role in the tech sector that is set to become even more important in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, well, I have to say AI.
Yeah.
And I think it's incredibly exciting to be a student at this time, at a time when AI and machine learning is just starting to transform industries. So we're definitely seeing a demand. We do not have enough people who can design and develop and deploy AI and machine learning models. And so if you're thinking about that, yes, there's definitely jobs out there. These engineers are the people that are going to be responsible for creating intelligent systems. The top engineers who really know their stuff, let me tell you this, they can be earning over £1 million a year. I mean, wow, I agree, Sarah. Wow, this is huge. So it's an explosion in this area, and we're seeing an explosion. By the way, that's a health warning. Not every AI job comes with that, but if you really are one of the leading people in one of the specialized areas, you absolutely can be in that position. But there's also jobs being created because of AI that we'd never heard of or couldn't have imagined. So I'll give you an example that's happening in the advertising agency world, which is the chief prompt officer. Have you heard of that? A chief prompt officer. So if first of all, if you're not already playing around with AI, and a plug for my own company, Meta AI, we just launched it in the UK and in Europe in the last week. It's at the top of your Instagram and your Facebook and your WhatsApp. Of course, you've got to be over 13 to use our platforms. But if you are, use it. There's already 700 million people around the world that are using it. And so help us get to 1 billion. But a chief prompt officer is, if you've already started to use the AI, you have to prompt it. You have to ask it a question in terms of what you want to get from it. And so if you really want to start getting into more detailed areas, then the actual skill of what you prompt, how you ask the question, is something that's becoming more and more in demand. So what I would say is, I'll give you an example of that. Let's say you're making a spaghetti marinara for dinner. You can do it as a sauce from a jar. That's fine. But then imagine that you buy your tomatoes and your basil from a farmer's market, or the very best place that you can buy tomatoes or basil from. It is just going to taste a lot better. And then if you grow the ingredients in your own garden, and then you go off and make your own fresh pasta, actually gets you to a whole level of savory deliciousness. And so just as better ingredients can make for a better dinner, the better inputs that you put into a generative AI model can make for better results. And that's what a prompt is. And the practice of writing it is actually called prompt engineering. So prompt engineering is also a skill as well. So that's an area where the demand is really high. And we're seeing in the United States that the average prompt engineer is making about $200,000 a year. Again, wow. So there's a couple of big numbers and some ideas to share.
Yeah, I really like that example. That has really kind of made it clear for me. I'm sure the young people as well, and also made me hungry. But also, it's nice to hear that there are jobs that work alongside AI. I think people can be quite fearful of AI that's going to take jobs, and it might be a bit harder in the future. But to hear that there's actually jobs that are being birthed because of AI is quite cool to hear. That's really great. So another question for, I guess, the next 10 years. If a student today listening wants to work in tech in 2035, what skills should they start building now?
Wow, that's such a long time horizon when you think about where we are. Smartphones only came into creation a decade ago, and you can see where they are now. But look, 1 in 4 of the tech jobs that are being posted at the moment are people seeking, AI skills, and that's only going to increase. So if you're that way minded, familiarize yourself with AI, with ML concepts, include deep learning, natural language processing, computer vision. They're all important. Practice and get to know and familiarize yourself and learn the programming languages like Python, even if it's not your chosen field. I think it's really important you can speak the language of tech, like talk about it, especially a bit if you're an entrepreneur and you want to build a business and say you're not on the engineering side. You need to know how to have a conversation. But the important thing I would say to everybody out there is that there are very many I call them universal skills that everybody needs to develop, as they're always going to be things that are about how people work together. So making sure that you take up the opportunity to know how to strongly communicate, how you work with a team, how you problem solve, how you can be agile, how you can be adaptable, how you embrace creativity, and how you also embrace continuous learning. So those are kind of some of the things that I think are going to make a big difference.
Yeah, I agree. They're great. Thank you for those. I know we've spoken about AI a bit already, but how do you think AI will change the world of work in the next 10 years?
Yeah, I think it's going to change everything. I think you will work alongside an AI, not just in your not just in professional jobs, but I think you'll see it on the production floor. I think all of us will have an AI colleague. I think you will probably have multiple AI assistants that help you in all different aspects of your life. Every business program that you currently study has a course in HR management. It has, a course in finance. I think every future business program will also include a course on AI resource management. So, I'm seeing it already in terms of, how I'm using my AI assistant, how I'm using Meta AI. It's just changing every aspect of my life. And are you using AI at the moment?
Yeah, I do use it. I do use it quite a lot. I think I need to get better at prompting it though. So
Okay.
I'm going to take that advice today.
Okay.
But I think, yeah, I need to get better at typing in the right things and getting the better results.
And it learns from you. So if you keep
Yeah.
going, well, no, make it, I'm more of a funny person. Where's the funny in here? Or I'm more of a creative person. Or,
Yeah.
bring me in examples from different places. It will start to learn how you like to think, and then be a better assistant to you.
Yeah. I always like to say my please and thank yous as well.
Me too. But actually, there's been some research said that from a business perspective, people that are more likely to say please and thank you to their assistants actually creates an environment at work that actually just feels better than those that
Yeah.
are probably a bit ruder to their assistants. I say please too. I'm seeing the difference.
Yeah, I do think it does work. And with AI and I guess the advances of tech, how can we make sure that we're using technology safely and responsibly?
Yeah, I can share from a meta perspective because this is a really important part of our work. Because the number one thing we care about is making sure that people, when they use our platforms, are doing so in a safe way and in a privacy safe way as well. And in order to do that, we work with a whole host of people from governments, industries, AI experts in academia, parents, mental health experts, privacy experts, like so many people. So that's the foundation part. When it comes to the AI side of things, maybe people today don't know, but actually one of the approaches that we have is that we believe in open source. And so we believe in open AI, which that really comes from, my boss, Mark Zuckerberg. And so what does that actually mean? My example here would be, imagine you're working on a really cool project like building a robot or creating a new game. You want to make sure that everyone can see how you made it and that everyone can learn from you and even actually maybe help to make it better. And you might have had that with your friends when you're kind of hanging out and you go, what if that whole idea of what if we did this, what if we did this, what if we did this? And that answer is always better than where it starts. And that's what we mean by saying building AI openly. It means that the people who are making the artificial AI systems are actually sharing their work with others. And so everybody then can see how the AI was made, and then they can learn from it. They can understand how the AI works and how it was built. They can help improve it. They can suggest changes or add new features, and they can use it for good. They can make sure the AI is used in ways that benefits society and doesn't harm it. And so by using and building AI openly, we can create a community of people who can work together to make sure that the AI is fair and is safe, is helpful. And so actually it becomes a great big team effort to be able to make something completely amazing. And then the other thing practically as a parent, and I said I've got 4 kids, I just always encourage an open conversation with my kids and to really think about, how their online activities are impacting themselves, how they could impact other people, how they could impact the wider online community, and to never, ever say something online that you wouldn't say to somebody's face.
That is very good advice. I definitely agree with that. I think it's quite easy to kind of be behind the screen and think of a different reality. But yeah, I think that's really, really good advice. Okay, so last question for me before we go to some live ones as they're coming in.
Have we got any? Has anybody put some ones in?
Yeah, there's been a discussion. So there's a question going out, which is, what do you think tech would look like in 20 years? And so people have said all tech will be wearable or personal use, even directly into our brains. Someone else has said nothing like it is today. Automation will continue to grow and AI will develop. And they said concerns for jobs. But we've mentioned that it's side by side. But yeah, that's the conversation happening right now in the comments. But what do you?
I might pick up on that. Actually, I might pick up.
Yeah, please do.
Which is, honestly, it's so difficult to imagine what 25. I said I can't even do 10, so 25 is another whole level. I agree with the area on the wearables. I mean, here I am today. I'm wearing my Aura ring, and that, that's teaching me how I sleep and what activities, what I eat, what exercise I do, how well I respond, and how well my body recovers itself. This is only going to increase and increase. We have our product, Ray-Ban Metas, which are absolutely incredible. And it has Meta AI built into it. And so where this is going to develop onto, so what you can do today, if you haven't seen them, I'm just looking around if I have a pair. Nope, I haven't got a pair lying around this at the moment. They're upstairs. Is already, so you can wear them and it can take pictures, it can do videos, you can listen to your music, it can take phone calls. So say you're on a WhatsApp call, you can answer it. They can't see you, but you can speak, and then you haven't got the phone in your hand, so you can just walk down the street and you can be enjoying it. But where it gets really exciting is when you bring Meta AI in, which we now have. And so now we can do simultaneous translation. So if 2 people are wearing them and you speak, French and I speak English, and we don't understand each other, actually it can be simultaneously translating. I mean, that's incredible. I've tried it where, again, I happen to have been in France recently last week. So you take a picture of the menu in French and it tells you, reads back to you, speaks to you what's on the menu so you can understand. But then when you start to imagine, well, actually, here's one for the future, which we've started to just demo out, a prototype called Orion. And Orion almost feels like the world of science fiction coming to reality. And everyone I've tried this with, and it's probably less than 1,000 people globally have tried this yet, they all say this feels like the future. So why? So you put on the glasses and it looks like a normal glass, so you can see my eyes. But what I can now see is a screen in front of my eyes, say about this distance. And I also have a haptic wristband, which is picking up electromagnetic signals in my wrist. So in the way that you scroll on a phone like this, I can bring up my Instagram here, and then with very gentle movements, I can have my hand down here, but I'm doing a very gentle movement. It can start to scroll. So I'm looking at it here and start to scroll. Then say my mum phones me. This screen goes here and I get at the top a green red like you do. Do you want to accept the call or not? This is super cool. With my eyes, I can sort of look at the green to answer the call. And then another screen opens up and now I'm having a video call. So remember I said on the current version, I can't see. On this version, I can see. And my mum and I can then have a chat and, talk to her about whatever as I'm walking down the street, as my Instagram is here as well. I mean, it's insane. One of the fun things that I tried with it, apart from games, which are amazing. So you're playing things with games and you're seeing an augmented reality world. So you're almost imagining I played like a ping pong type game with my hands. But if you watch us, we just look like two people going like this. But he and I could see the ball because we're both wearing the glasses. Unbelievable. The fun one I looked at was you look in a fridge and you say, hey, Meta, look in the fridge. What would you suggest I make for dinner tonight with these? And so it looks around, it scans what's in the fridge, and then it starts to pull up, well, do you want sweet or savory? What sort of menus? This. Oh, if only you had honey, you could make it nicer. And then you say, okay, I want to make that recipe. So click, flick, whatever, which way, and start to take the ingredients, go to the stove, and you can take the recipe with you. And it can be cooking in front of your eyes and giving you the step by step. Because, you're like, oh, I'm looking down, I'm looking here, I've got to hold my phone. You can see it. And so how you start to imagine how that's going to evolve and develop and change. Insane. And I've not even talked about the metaverse. But if anybody's interested, ask me a question about the metaverse and I'll tell you about that. You had one more question. You had one more question.
Yes. No, it's a fun one before we go on to the other questions. It is, if you had to describe working in the tech industry at Meta in just 3 emojis, which ones would they be?
I love emojis. I'm obsessed. Obsessed. So I'm always adding. I would do rocket ship, rocket ship, rocket ship, because that's what it feels like. And when I first got the job, Sheryl Sandberg said to me, when you get offered an opportunity on a rocket ship, you don't ask what seat. Because, you don't think astronauts don't go, I really want to sit by that window or that. You just get on the rocket ship. And she said, I promise you're going to have the ride and the experience of a lifetime. And my goodness, she was absolutely right. It was exactly that. So no 2 days are the same. It's always exciting. There's growth. There's adventures. Things, curve, go backwards, forwards. But ultimately, rocket ship, rocket ship, rocket ship.
I love that. And just a side question from me. What is your kind of like ultimate favorite emoji that you use?
Probably laughing face like that.
Yeah, the side one. Yeah.
It used to be the one with the tears of crying, but my daughter told me that was old fashioned, so I'm ditching it and I'm going to that one.
I still use that one.
Yeah, it's old fashioned.
I love it. I feel like mine at the moment is the bubbles. I think it's really cute. I like the bubbles.
Okay, I'm going to check the bubbles out.
Yeah, the bubbles.
I'm also loving on things like WhatsApp all the stickers. I'm obsessed with stickers. Yeah. I've been doing a lot of photo stickers, which are also real fun as well.
Yeah. So, you can get really creative.
And then avatars. Oh my goodness, we didn't even speak about avatars in the future. And I'll tell you another fun job that certainly didn't exist a handful of years ago, well, and only is becoming, is a digital avatar dresser. There you go, style advisor. So what should your avatar wear? And we've done all collaborations with all different designers over the years, which people might not even know about. But yes, you can buy the equivalent of skins for your own avatar to go and play. So yeah,
I didn't know there's a whole role for that. That is really, really cool.
Yeah.
That is a great title to show off to your friends.
Yeah, no, I don't know how much money you're going to make in 2025 on it, but it's
Yeah.
an indication of, we often spend a lot of time on focusing on the jobs that will be taken away as opposed to the jobs that will be created.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's definitely that hand in hand again. Okay, so some questions coming in. Someone is asking which country is the best to live in if I want a career in tech?
Honestly, this is a really, people will often say, well, shouldn't we just go to Silicon Valley? But the truth is, actually, a tech business can emerge from anywhere with a brilliant idea. And so I don't necessarily think that's the right way to think about it anymore. It's if you've got a great idea and you believe in it, then it's never been easier to set up a business than it is today. You can create your logo, you can find people online all through the internet. I mean, how amazing is that?
Yeah, it is. It is very awesome. We have a question here from the Greycoat Hospital Church of England Comprehensive School for Girls. Very long title. Someone has said, I have applied for a BSc in data science, and they're hoping this is a good entry for getting into companies such as Meta. So I guess they want your opinion if that's
yes, I would say yes. If there are not enough data scientists either out there, and so I think that's a really exciting job to go for. So good luck, and I hope you get in. Work hard, get those results, and then you'll get in there.
Awesome. And another question from Castleman Academy. They're asking, how did you become who you are today? Big question.
It's a big question. I think it's to do with the fact of all those things that I've been telling you along the conversation, really, which is be curious, be open to learn from many places, not just your school, where you are, not just your school books, but from podcast. I mean, again, it's never been so easy to learn either. The podcast, learn from people, these sorts of conversations. In the past, it would have been impossible for somebody like me to be able to speak to so many people in school. So if there's anybody on there going, God, I wish I could have asked her that question, just ask it. You should. Being creative, being entrepreneurial, being curious, always learning, putting my hands up for the extra work and the extra topic and the extracurricular, being a bit nosy, and not being afraid to try something new. Because at the point in time I joined Meta, I was running my own business of 250 people. I'd been part of the team that had recruited all those people. But I always loved tech and I loved the Facebook product. And it is said that if you do a job you love, then it never really feels like you're working. And I've never, I've never felt that I was working because I just loved what I did. So whether it was in advertising or whether it's in, doing what I do for Meta, I just get a huge kick out of it. So maybe that's how.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You have to love what you do.
Oh, and I would also add, stay around the people that are not afraid to work hard. Sometimes at school, it's not cool to be seen to be working hard and doing good. And I remember at school, I used to believe all those kids that you say, I did no work for this exam, no work whatsoever. So I thought, well, if no one's doing any work, I won't do. Not being honest with me. How amazing to be at a school where everyone goes, God, I've worked really hard. I've put myself in the best chance possible to get that 10 out of 10 or that A. Because what that does, and another piece of advice, is be around people that want to do better, that want to work hard, because they will lift you up. There is research studies the world over that says if you be in one environment that is about that versus another that wants to pull you down, that this group will pull you down and this group will help you, even just by being friends with them, reach for the stars. So go in that group.
Yeah, definitely. That's great advice. Thank you. Someone is asking, this might be a top secret question. Someone's asking, when will the Meta Quest 4 be released?
Yep, that's a top secret one, but I'm glad you're enjoying MetaQuest. What we're talking about. These are our AR VR glasses, from a gaming experience, from a fitness experience. It is extraordinary to get into the world of virtual reality. And from an educational perspective, most people on the planet will never travel to another country. But now you can go back to ancient Rome. You can go and see the Galapagos. You can go anywhere in the world, even on the moon. I did a whole business meeting at one point on the moon where my team wore the goggles and we all met on the moon base. And it was just it felt like we were on the moon. It was brilliant fun. So yeah, that's another whole area of jobs for the future as well.
Wow. And there's that rocket ship coming into play there. You actually went to the moon.
I remember that going. I actually told that story when we were here, which was that. You're so right. You're so right.
That is amazing. Someone's asking, are there any risks when using the metaverse?
So I think with any new technology, you always have to think about what the risks could be and make sure you build forward. So I'll give you an example of how we, and that's the same with any new technology. So there's always going to be the good guys, and then there's always going to be the bad actors. So you've always got to be imagining what the bad actors are going to do. And actually, that's another job. We employ teams to try and hack our own systems so that we can build the safety in place. So an example of that is because it does feel so realistic in the metaverse, we realize that people would want to be able to make sure that their physical space in the virtual world would be protected. And so we created that physical boundary around a person. It feels like about 6 feet, so that if you're at a stadium in the metaverse or you're at a nightclub, that actually you are protected from being away from that person, unless you want to invite them in. And then you can have all fun doing high fives and things like that. But there is that protection. So that's a good example. By the way, was there anyone from Manchester or Leeds on the call? Did we get any messages?
We've had no messages in, no.
Teachers, don't be so strict. I'm sure there'll be someone from the north there.
I'm sure that definitely is. But yeah, we can see if they'll put something in the chat before we end today.
You can just say hello from Manchester. Just hello from Leeds. Hello from Manchester.
Or even just a waving emoji. Someone has asked, what is the best product or service you have made?
Well, I don't make the products in terms of, because I'm basically selling the advertising that creates the money that can then go back into building the products. But look, I think about the way in which people communicate now. I think it's nothing short of, honestly, it's miraculous that I can have, I grew up in a world where you would literally, maybe you would know a handful of people in another country, and that was probably if they were your family members. And you would write by hand a letter and they would deliver it. And it would probably, I had a friend in the United States, and it would be about 2 to 3 weeks between two letters going between each other. I mean, can you imagine how, it's unimaginable. So I think now the fact that we can, share pictures around the world, videos, that we can communicate, all of those things is phenomenal. But I think on the business side, the thing I'm most proud of is that often in the past, all those examples of when I was kind of growing up in my job, making a television advert, making a poster, a radio commercial, it was so expensive that the only companies that could afford to do it were the world's biggest companies. I think the thing that I'm most proud of is that the work that Meta does and puts out into the world means that anybody, literally with just a phone, can go off and create a business. And so I think that's an amazing, and especially for women, it used to be a massive barrier for entry for a woman to be able to go and set a business. Now you can do that. Now I know also I just showed you my phone, which looks a bit weird, and this thing on it, you're asking what it is. It's called a HIPAA. Apparently, it's the biggest thing in Korea at the moment, South Korea. So I got given one. So that is what a HIPAA looks like.
Oh, and what does a HIPAA do?
It doesn't do anything, but it looks cute.
Oh, it's a cute little accessory.
Yeah, it's a cute thing. It looks like that.
That is cute. I do like that. Someone's asking, do you travel a lot for work? And if so, where's the best place that you've been?
Yes. So if you follow me on Instagram at Nicola, MENNICOLA, I document all my travels, and I travel most weeks. So this is a role with a lot of travel because I'm running this team of thousands of people all over the world. A crazy amount of travel. So in March, where have I been? I've been in the United States, United Kingdom, France, Germany. I've actually been to California and New York. I've been in Brussels, been in Singapore. So that's quite a lot of travel, isn't it? I don't have favorites. But I just love connecting with the team. I had a real treat to be in Singapore during Chinese New Year. and Lunar New Year, which was an amazing experience to see how that auspicious time of the year is celebrated there. So that was fun.
Wow, that is incredible. But how do you kind of survive with jet lag? Does that kind of
It's not easy.
Yeah,
There's no magic tips or things. I mean, there's some things that they say, take fresh air as soon as you arrive and try and set your watch before you go to the next place. Honestly, just make sure you get to sleep as much as you can. And
Sleep is
exercise.
important. Yeah. Awesome. So we're rounding up now. Someone is asking, how much money can you expect to earn in the year, I guess, in the tech industry? Maybe starting out, what would you say is
honestly, that is how long is a piece of string. So you could literally earn anything depending on what job you do, and you can see what the world's most successful people earn because they're doing some incredible things with their money. My boss has given away to a foundation most of his money in order to try and help cure all diseases in his grandchildren's lifestyle. So look, if you work hard, if you dream big, if you come up with a product that billions of people have loved, then you can find ways to think about how you can give it back to the billions of people around the world as well, the majority of which will never be able to kind of even meet you or say thank you. But what a privilege to be able to dream like that.
Yeah, and the impact as well. And kind of like closing it on a bit of advice. Do you have anything to kind of give our young people listening who maybe want to get into tech, they're really, really passionate about it, or maybe they just listened to this today and they're thinking, you know what, I can give this a go. What kind of last pieces of advice would you give our young people?
I would say be hungry, be curious, find some other people that are like you, share ideas, swap podcasts that you follow. The algorithms, the Instagram algorithm is so fun, Facebook algorithm is so fantastic. If you start following people, if you start following Mark Zuckerberg, you'll start to see other suggestions of other people like that to follow, other podcasts to follow. So just embrace it, just go for it. Take the fear out, just embrace the change and the positivity and the art of the possible. And I am sure, and I know that there's people on the call today that could be the ones that are actually going to go out there and change the world as well. So this is truly one of the most exciting times ever to be in business and to be in technology. So good luck, work hard. You got to work hard, otherwise you're not going to get that entry point. And then extraordinary things are going to happen.
What a lovely way to close up today. Thank you so much for your time, Nicola. It's been amazing hearing about you and your journey and your role and everything meta and tech. It's been really, really great. And yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, and thanks to you too for this fantastic conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Look forward
It's
to you doing it again.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Take care.
Take care. That's all we have time for today. Thank you everyone for joining us. It's been a really, really great time. Thank you for all your questions as well, flooding in. There'll be a feedback poll going live right now, so please do let us know how you found today. If you haven't got time to do it right now, you can do it via email as well. Let us know how you found the talk today. We'd love to hear from you. That is all we have time for. See you again soon for another talk. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the sun.